everyone, and welcome back to Stylish Naija YouTube channel. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I really appreciate you guys a whole lot for subscribing to my YouTube channel, for all of the support, for all of the love that I've gotten from all of my subscribers. I appreciate it and I don't take it for granted. You guys really rock, and this is thumbs up for you. Thumbs up. Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to cut beautiful, or let me say beautiful necklines, or new designs of neckline, or trendy neckline, whatever you choose to call it. That's what I'm going to show you how to cut. But these are really beautiful necklines. Most times I really don't like going with conventional necklines, so you just have to step up your neckline games this year, if you would permit me to use that word. So I've come up with 4 different necklines that I'm going to show you how to cut today. It is a very simple process. I'm going to make it so simple for you to be able to understand it how I can. Because it's not by my power, it's not by my might. That's just the truth. So it's just the grace of God that is actually helping me. Okay, so now, if you have not subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate if you hit on the subscribe button and then hit on the bell also, if you have to get notified whenever I upload a new video. So that's just like basically the essence. Okay, so now I'm just going to reset, so I'll focus my camera on my table so you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, so now I'm just going to do a quick explanation before we continue, so it will be easier for us. So this is the back piece. For instance, when you cut your dresses, this is the back piece. So you see, this is the zipper allowance is held. So I just use pins to hold it down. So with this, you'll be able to gauge, if you permit me to use that word, the necklines properly. Because when you cut necklines, when you have problem is if the front neckline and the back neckline does not align on the same spot, that's on the side. If it does not align properly like this, that neckline is going to give you problem. So that is why you need your back neckline in place. And then for this, I'm going to be using normal flats fabric to cut out the neckline, but I just want to explain to you, if you are cutting this neckline, because definitely this whole neckline, if I'm going to be sewing them, I'm not going to be sewing them on flat, I'm going to be sewing them on bustiers. So I just want to explain to you how you do them when you are doing them on bustiers or padded or corset or whatever. This is just like a basic draft of a basic breast cut. So I'm just going to cut it out now for you to see. So these necklines, when you want to sew them on bustiers, all you have to do is, when drafting, don't include the neckline on your pattern or on your fabric. So after stitching everything, after cutting your bustiers like this, you join them back together. So after joining it back together, after ironing all of your parts, and then you join it together before you come back and add the neckline. So with this, you get better results instead of just adding the neckline from the beginning. So that is what I just want to explain to you. But because I don't want to go into the process of stitching and going all through that process of stitching and then cutting, I'm just going to make use of this. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay, so the first neckline we are going to do, so you can see the picture up there, so I'm just going to keep this on the side. And standard necklines are usually, the width is usually 3 inches. The neckline, that's the width like this, it's usually 3 inches. So when you use 3 inches like this, you see it will fit in properly into that part. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure. The first thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure the width. So I have my shoulder measurement, so I'm going to measure my neckline. So I'm going to mark my 3 inches for my necklines. That's the neck width. So this is the neck width of 3 inches. And then for this neckline, what I'm going to do, so after marking the 3 inches, the deepest part of the neckline, I'm still going to put that into consideration. So for the deepest part, so for standard depth of neckline, you could use between 5 and 6 inches depth. So for this, I'm going to be making use of 5 inches. So this 5 inches is going to be the depth of my neckline. So now I've marked it. I'm going to keep this on the side. So I'm just going to put a notch here, just like a straight notch like this, because I'm going to open it up before I cut. So I'll open it up like this. So this is my notch mark. So that's where this is where the width of my neckline is going to be. So the next thing I'm going to do now, from this point, if you notice the shape of the neckline, I'm going to measure the depth, like I told you, the depth that I'm going to be making use of. So I've marked my, okay, I think I'm just going to increase it a little bit. Let me increase it to 6 inches. So this is 6 inches right now. So from this part, what I'm going to use, I'm going to use my pattern curve. If you don't have a pattern curve, you can actually leave this like that. So this is 6 inches. So this is the center part of my neckline. These are all of the things that you are going to put into consideration. So the way the shape of the neckline is, from this part is coming like this, and then towards this part it has a height. So you are going to measure this part, how high, from this point to this point we use 6 inches. So from this point to this point, I think we should use about 4 inches for it to give us the shape of the neckline. So this is the center because I have my fold. I hope you understand what I'm trying to do. So now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use my pattern curve. I'm going to curve this part to this point like this. So I'm just going to curve, I'll curve it to that 6 inches part. So just make like a curve like this. So you need to open it up, and then after making the curve here, the next thing we're going to have like an arc coming to those 4 inches that we measure. That's the arc. What I mean by the arc, like a back flip like this. So for this, you just need to put your artistic skills to work. So I hope it is visible. You bring this, just make like an arc here on that 4 inches. From this point to this point is 4 inches, and then from this part, what you are going to do on this part, you are just going to mark like another back flip, just like a little back flip to join to this part like this. So when you do that, you will see that the neckline, so this part like this, like a back flip. So I'm just going to highlight it properly. So you have like a little arc here that took us to the 4 inches. And then from this part to the other part, that's our 3 inches. So you should note this one is just going to come like this, like a back flip. So I'm going to cut it out now for you to see the neckline. So this goes like this. So this neckline, you can try it on a pattern paper first before you actually transfer to your fabric. With that, it will do you better. So at the end of the day, so you see what we have on this neckline now. So if you are the one that uses 3 inches, 3.5 inches, you just go with your 3.5 inches. So now this neckline now, we're going to measure it on the back pattern for you to understand what I was trying to tell you at the beginning. So you see the neckline now, you see it on the back pattern. So you see it on the back pattern. You see it is aligning very well. So this kind of neckline, when you finish sewing it, you are not going to have any problem. It's going to fit in properly. So we are done with the first one. So the next neckline, I really don't know the name for this neckline. So if you know, you can drop it on the comment section. So we're going to do this one that looks like a plunging V neckline. So this one that looks like a plunging V is very simple. The same process will mark our 3 inches width for our neckline. So this is our 3 inches width for our neckline. This is our 3 inches, and then if you notice, the way the neckline is. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to take the depth of the neckline. So this neckline actually goes deeper than our 6 inches, our original 6 inches. So for this, we're going to be using 8 inches for the depth. It's really deep. So that's 8 inches. So from this 8 inches point, I'm going to mark this point. I'm just going to mark 1 inch or half of an inch here. I just to have my curve. And then the next thing, from this point, I'm going to mark where I'm going to be flipping my neckline from. So depends on, all of this depends on you. You know the full depth is 8 inches. So on this part, I think we should do 4 inches also. Okay, let's do 3.5. So this is 3.5. So from this 3.5 part, here's what we are going to do. You're just going to come like this to this point. So from here to here, you can decide to measure it for you to know how wide the top part of the neckline is going to be. So for this, I'm using about 2 inches. So you see it is about 2 inches to that 3.5 point. to that 3.5 point. So you measure 2 inches, so that's the width. And then from this point now, you're just going to make like a little flip, and then you just take it down to that half inch that we measured earlier. You could do 1 inch, you could do 1.5 inch, depends on how wide. I'm just going to double check it. So you say, okay, 1 inch. I think 1 inch is okay. At the end of the day, it's going to be as no, 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 no. 1 inch is going to be too wide. It's going to, I'm just trying to check it. It's going to be too wide. So let's do half of an inch. So at the end of the day, it's going to be 1 inch. That's this width. And then this part is just going to go like this. And then you come like this. So I'm going to cut it out right now. So this part, once it goes like this, you have a curve, like a small curve here. And then this goes back into, plunges back into that point. So you open it up. So you see what we have right now. So like I said, this part, if you want it to be very wide, you can do 1 full inch. So at the end of the day, it's going to be 2 inches. So we're going to measure it on our back piece now and see what we have. So you see it on our back piece. So this is how it's going to look like. So like I said, just always make sure that your neckline aligns on this point. Once it aligns on this point, you are not going to have problem. If I was cutting this now, you notice this part is a little bit, the front neckline is a little bit wider than the back. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to cut the back. I'm just going to trim this part to make it aligned properly. So I just want you to note that. And then we're going to cut the third neckline now. Okay, so for the third neckline, we're going to measure our width also of 3 inches. So that's like the standard that we're using for this class. So this is my 3 inches. So this is my 3 inches width. And then the next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to measure. Okay, after measuring my 3 inches, the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to measure the depth. Okay, no, let's just put notch first and then continue. So I'm going to notch this part because this one we're still going to open it also. So I'm going to open it up so we'll be able to work on it properly. So this is the width of the neckline. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now, this is the center part of the neckline. So we're going to measure how deep, because that's like the deepest part of the neckline. We're going to measure how deep you want that part to be on this neckline. So for this, we're going to be making use of about 5.5 inches. So this 5.5 inches is going to be like the deepest part of the neckline. So from this part, I'm going to be making a slant to this point right now. I will make a slant. This is the center of the neckline. Because of the flange that is attached to the neckline, this part is actually slanted. So I'm just going to slant it like this. So this is like a partial scallop neckline. So I'll slant it to this point. So from this point, I'm going to create like scallop on this side. So in creating my scallop, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to determine how deep, how high I want it to be. So from this part now, I'm going to use about 3 inches depth. That's the height that I'm going to use. So this is 3 inches here now. Because this scallop neckline, if it is really not high, it's not going to be pronounced. So from this point, I'm just going to make like a V to meet. I'll make like a V to meet this part. So the V, the down is not really going to be too sharp. So I'm just going to curve that down part of my V a little bit. So I have one scallop. So the next thing, I'm going to be bringing it down to this point. So I used 3 inches before. So for this depth also, I'm going to use another 3 inches to bring it down. So from this point like this, I'm going to just mark it like this again. So I have two scallops. So the next one is not really as wide as this one. So I'm still going to use, so for this next one, I'm going to use about 2.5 inches. I'm not using 3 inches again. So on this part, I'm just going to make another V here. And then from this part, I'm going to curve this one here. That's the neckline. I'm going to curve it like this. And then I'm going to bring this and then bring this like this. So, like I said, just put your artistic skills to work for this kind of neckline. But if I was making this neckline on my own, the truth is this part actually I'm just going to turn this part. I'm not going to do it like this. I'm going to make my scallop more pronounced like this. I'm just trying to switch this a little bit. I'm just trying to switch it a little bit. And then I'll make it like this. So with this, it's going to be very obvious. So let's cut and see what we have right now. So at the end of the day, so you see how the neckline is looking like. So when you cut like this, you'll be able, when you sew, all of your piece is going to come out beautifully well. So I'm going to check it on our back piece now to see how it looks. Okay, so you see it on our back. So you see it on our back piece. So this is how it is looking. So the flounce was just hanging on this side from the picture above. The flounce is staying on this side, and then you have all of this side. So if you know you don't want it to be too high, you can just use your discretion and then use a lesser measurement than this one. Okay, now the last one that we're going to do, this is like a little bit trickish. So, but what was actually done to this neckline is just that you cut it and then you cut out a yoke and then fix on it. So I'm going to show you how to actually achieve it is a simple process. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to use our standard 3 inches that we've been using. So this is the 3 inches width. So if you notice this neckline, the yoke actually has a little round neckline. So for this little round neckline, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use about 1.5 inches for the depth of the front neckline. That's the yoke neckline, because what we cut out is what you are going to place and then cut as your yoke. And then the next thing, this yoke, this kind of neckline is actually done like an halter neck, like an halter neckline. So you just mark it like this, and then from this part, you notice this part is not like a sharp V. So for this part, I'm going to use like 1 inch. So this is 1 inch. So it is from this 1 inch that I'm going to slant it into my armhole part. I'm going to slant it into my armhole part. So what I'm going to do now, for the armhole, depends on how deep you actually want it to be. So for this, I'm not really going to make it too deep. I don't really want it to be too deep. So I'm going to use about 5 inches or 5.5 inches. So from this point like this, I'm just going to, so you see what I'm doing, I'm just going to mark this like this. So everything that you're cutting off from this part is what you are going to transfer as your yoke and then sew and turn. So in case you don't know how to do this kind of stitch, the last video I posted, I did how you can actually stitch fabric on top of your tool net on necklines. So you are just going to cut it out like this. So I'll cut this part out like this. So you know, since we use 1 inch, it's just going to cut out like that. Okay, so I'm going to open it up now and then show you how it looks like. So you see the center of our neckline. So this part of our yoke, so this is the yoke. So this yoke, obviously, you are just going to, the neckline is going to sit like this. So what I would advise is when you are cutting, before adding the neckline, cut out the yoke first. You see that I've not added the neckline, so you cut out your yoke like this and then you stitch it back. If you want this part to be very sharp, you can make it sharper, but this is okay, so that after sewing it's going to reduce a little bit. So you cut your yoke and then you after cutting the yoke on your net, you're just going to fix it back like this. Just use the same way and then you fix it back. And then after fixing it back, you are going to have something flat like this, and then you can now add your neckline to this part. Okay, so I think we have now come to the end of our video. We have now come to the end of this video, so I'm just going to lay them all out here for you to see. So if you have any question, you can drop your questions on the comment sections. So once I come up, I would answer your questions. So if you find this video helpful, I would appreciate if you hit on the like button to make me know you appreciate what I did with this video. So thank you so much. I'll see you in my next video. God bless you.